Shawn can do, what he's comfortable with, how long of a match he can work. Can he keep up with Styles at this point? They're like whatever, 15 years apart or an age or whatever they might be. I don't know. I mean, that's just maybe what they're thinking. That's all speculation on my part, of course. So I don't know. I mean, and as far as the Crown Jewel event, I'm kind of not sure where the event is being held right now. I thought I heard maybe it was changing venues. I'm not really sure what any of these news bites that come across, which ones are true and which ones are not. But they were scheduled to have, I think, a pretty big crowd. I'm going to take a look and see if I could find it. Kingside Stadium.
The King Fahd International Stadium.
There we go. Yeah.
On October 6th, it was announced the venue from the King Fahd to the King Saud University Stadium. So it went from X amount of thousands, like 20 or 30,000.
Okay. So yeah, it went down. So I guess it's maybe just more of a regular size crowd versus like the large scale.
Probably going from like a dome to a like an MSG or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Comparison. So I don't know. I mean, but I'm sure they're getting a lot of revenue out of it, and it's a big show for them as a company, whether maybe it appears that way to us in the United States or not. For their foothold over there.
In the United States, I think every single one of these one-off shows has felt like a glorified house show. And you even said it last week when we were talking. You're kind of under the assumption that the Saudi government is now part owner or booking WWE because of the decisions they are making. So it's. I mean, listen, it's tough as a fan to see Shawn Michaels come back in. I get it. You want to do the DX stuff, and I'm as big of a mark for DX as anybody else. I was when they came back in 2006, Spirit Squad. When was that?
Yeah, that was 2006.
2006. I was all in on that. I thought, I watched it. I enjoyed it. I got the goosebumps from it, and the DX and the Are You Ready stuff. But in 2018, I didn't feel it. Maybe that's just me being tired of it. But I think a lot of people my age are starting to kind of feel the same way. I just think Shawn Michaels coming back should be bigger, and I don't know if this is the right venue for it. And I don't think Undertaker is the right opponent because of his inability in the ring either. I mean, you remember the battles Shawn and the Undertaker have had before, and you're not going to get that. And this is no fault of Shawn. This is the Undertaker who legitimately doesn't know when to hang him up. Speaking of, we were talking before, underrated. I know everybody loves the Undertaker and gives him all these passes because of how long he's been doing what he's doing. But Kane has been around since, I think he was 1990 or 1991. Before he came in as Isaac Yankem, he was USWA. Any idea what his name was? It's off the top of my head.
Yeah, I do know it.
Hold on, I'm going to look it up. Glenn, it's going to bother me. Where I'm going with this, though, is Kane has been at it as long, if not longer, than The Undertaker. And for him to be able to stay in the same shape is Christmas Creature, Doomsday, and Unabomb back in the day.
Oh, that's Unabomb.
His debut was late 1991. So 1991, you're looking at, 27 years professional wrestling. I think the differences have been the injuries, of course, between Kane and The Undertaker. But Kane has got to be one of the most underrated guys in the business for being able to do it as long as he has been without a serious injury like The Undertaker.
Yeah, I think he's probably an underappreciated guy, for sure. Given all the things that the gimmicks he went through, and then the run that he's had as Kane, as a main guy for, I don't know. I guess he was a main guy from like 97 to maybe like 15 years or something like that until he started to slow down a little. And
even with the original Team Hell No thing, that was the main event for how long? That was
that was 2013 actually. Yeah, so it's probably even a little bit longer of a run. So yeah, I mean, he's had a really long run as well, and maybe he's a little underappreciated by fans for different reasons. But yeah, I mean, these are four guys that have been around in wrestling since the 90s. Early 90s. So if not before that, in some cases like Shawn in the 80s and things, matches like that. So I mean, it's going to be four old dudes wrestling in a tag match in Saudi Arabia. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if they can pull anything out. I didn't like one of the things I didn't like about the Triple H and Undertaker match, which I mean, I know you mentioned a bunch of things that I felt the same way about. Is slow moving, and Taker seemed a little bit broken down, and some things that he could do, and all that type of stuff. But there was they made it no DQ, which was fine because I think they probably had to do that to kind of add some bells and whistles to it. But the interference was just like so, I freely done and repetitive with Kane and Shawn on the outside that it was just like, I don't mind to have matches with guys on the outside as distractions or eventually get involved here and there, but those guys were involved like every 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then Kane wasn't around at all for like the first half of the match, and then Shawn was getting it. Was I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I understand, like you said, you did it to cover up their shortcomings. I think that's fair to say. But I mean, age truly is nothing but a number, because you look at a guy like Christopher Daniels, who might be in the best shape of his life at 47, 48, I want to say.
Yeah, I think he's around that age. I think similar age to Jericho.
Which is, 3 years younger than Triple H? And what he's able to do. I mean, not for nothing. Look at a guy, AJ Styles. What is he, 41?
I think he's 40 or 41, yes.
AJ Styles is 41. When you think of Austin, when Austin was around, Austin was quote-unquote getting older. He was like 38. And it's a different time now. The guys definitely treat their bodies differently. But The Undertaker, to me, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, so please nobody give me hate mail or any shit like that. He looks like a guy that works out for 3 weeks before Mania every single year. He doesn't look like the type of guy that takes care of himself all year round in order to prepare for that. Whereas you have guys like AJ Styles, you have guys like Christopher Daniels that are, in peak shape because they have to be, but also on the off, look at The Rock, man. The Rock's in the best shape of his life now, not in the ring. He's working out 24/7. So it's going to be, I hope for the best. I mean, Shawn's a guy that prides himself on, his athletic ability and whatnot. And I'm sure he's going to be in shape. I just, I hope we don't look back on this like one of the 19 Ric Flair retirements where his matches post-retirement kind of sully a little bit of his legacy. But I think Shawn's too vain and too proud in a good way to let that happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Like you said, it seems like he looks like he's in good shape. I'm sure he's trying to work to get himself into ring shape, right, from a cardio perspective. We'll see. I mean, it's about a little less than a month away. And I think those guys are going to be appearing on TV a little bit more. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I guess, is to be seen. But it's coming up in a few weeks, so we'll see how that all plays out. I'm sure we'll be covering it as it gets closer.
I mean, we will we'll definitely be covering it. The thing is, though, I don't want to see these guys in 7 segments every single Monday night. I mean, everybody used to shit on TNA with Fortune, and when they had when they had Hogan and they had Sting and they had Booker T, and they said the main event scene was just recycled WWE stars of yesteryear who are forcing guys like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels out of the title picture, and they're forcing them lower down the card, and they're taking time away from the younger guys. And I think that's a fair complaint from a lot of WWE fans now when you look at, the build-up that these guys have had now in back-to-back pay-per-views, probably leading to WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the way that I would build company if I'm looking for long-term and future success, right? You probably want to get some guys, established new stars. They always seem to be the thing that they were trying to do over the years, is keep new stars and grow people, internally, or bring people in, whatever it is, to keep making the future look bright for them. But at this stage, I'm not sure what their main initiatives or goals are. Right? Is it TV ratings and they have the network buys, I guess, and then based off of that, maybe they're just looking to say, okay, well, who can we put out there that people want to see, that's going to make them buy network subscriptions or tune into Raw, and that's why we see these guys all the time, like Undertaker and Triple H and Brock Lesnar and whatever you guys may come around that are part timers. Even a guy like Cena now, right? He'll come back and he's gonna be on this Saudi Arabia show too. Right, Kurt Angle is going to be wrestling in this Saudi Arabia show. So, maybe they're trying to do a mix of both, and then just as a result, and they have 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown to fill every single week.
The problem is, in order to generate all this money, last week's Raw was the 3rd lowest rating in the quote unquote modern era. So you could bring in all these guys, but when ratings are down to that number, I think it would. And the week before, it was the number one lowest rating they've had of the quote unquote modern era, which is, I mean, that's not trending in the right direction, And but at some point, when you realize on one show they had Ronda Rousey, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Kane, Kurt Angle, and Lita, and they threw everything at that show, and that got the third lowest rating of the modern era. So, at what point do you? But like when Eric Bischoff was on her show a couple of weeks ago, he said, "Look at the business model, look at the stock numbers; they're up through the roof." So at this point, do they even care? As long as the stock's going and they're making billions of dollars, and Vince is going to feed into his XFL fetish. I mean, do they really care about the product?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Maybe the ratings right now, back in the day in the Attitude Era, right? Ratings were a big thing, right? Because they were going head to head up against Nitro, and a lot and sponsors and all that type of stuff. But now, they have sponsors, right? Because they're a PG show, on a network that they're on, like the USA Network. Even as low as their ratings get, they're still the highest or one of the whatever highest rated programs on that channel. And they just signed these TV deals for Raw with USA Network and SmackDown with Fox. So they've made all this money based off of their TV. Now, I guess if the ratings go to a point where they're lower than, reruns of Silk Stockings and whatever else it is that goes on the USA Network.
Dude,
and,
that's
Pacific Blue.
Money. Pack Blue, Silk, My Two Dads,
Yeah, there you go.
Up All Night with, what was her name? Rhonda Shear. Why do I know that?
Up All Night with Rhonda Shear, yeah.
Dude, they used to have the cheesiest 80s horror movies. See, now that shit was television. This Chrisley Knows Best gimmick is, I don't know.
But I guess if Raw's ratings go down to those levels and below that, then maybe it wouldn't be such an attractive thing anymore. But if they're still doing ratings that are double of Chrisley Knows Best, but even though it's the lowest in the history of Monday Night Raw, USA is still making out on deals for advertisers, and the ratings that they're getting is still high, and WWE is making all this money from the TV deals and the revenue from the ads and whatever else is going on that they're doing. So yeah, maybe the rating numbers aren't as important to them anymore, as long as they're successful enough where they're getting paid for the TV contracts for a long time. And I don't remember the numbers, but the deal that they signed with Fox was like, how many $1 million or $1 billion was it? It was like a gazillion. It was
something. It was so many decimals, I lost count. Can I read to you a Chuck Taylor quote, and you tell me what you think about it?
You can. I think I already know what it is, but go ahead.
Chucky T says, "To me, the WWE is Nickelback. I think it's like anything else in wrestling. When it's bad, it's really bad. Some of their stuff is borderline unwatchable, and that's coming from a lifelong wrestling fan. But when they do something right with their production and everything else, it's fantastic. That's not me kissing their ass trying to get a job because they never signed me in a million years. If I'm at home, I'll watch WWE, have a few beers, and watch their pay-per-views. Hell, half the roster are my friends, which is cool. But when you grow up, you realize they're not making their product for a 32-year-old white guy from Kentucky. They're making their product for the people that spend their money on it. From what I've seen, from what they put on, business seems to be good. So I'm not going to complain about their product. It's not made for me. Why would I complain about it? It's not made for me." I mean, to me, that kind of hits the nail on the head. Business is good. They're not catering towards him. Maybe, for the people like him who do want to watch wrestling, that's why we have NXT, and that's why we have 205 Live.
Yeah, I mean, maybe is also part of why they're creating or trying to put together all these different brands, right? So they've got the 205 Live, they got NXT, now they've got the NXT UK brand that's starting up. They've got they're running the Mae Young Classic tournament for fans of women's wrestling, right? So they did the Cruiserweight Classic in the past that goes along with 205 Live. So they're trying to, I guess, create different avenues for different fans to buy the network. And maybe people don't like the current product, but they like the product from the 80s, or they like the product from the Attitude Era. So they put that on the network, and you can watch that instead if you want, right? I guess the bottom line for them is, are people watching something they're putting out there? And if they are, I guess maybe to Vince and these people, it doesn't really matter so much, which it is.
So maybe that's a new way for me to look at it, Joe. Maybe I'm not made to be watching the SmackDowns and the Raws. Maybe I'll continue watching the 205 Live because I enjoy the shit out of 205 Live. The NXT. I'll watch Halloween Havoc 89. Maybe I'll take a step back from the main shows, and I'll just appreciate what I want to appreciate, and I won't complain about it. Maybe I'll do that, Joe.
I support that. I support that idea.
I kind of have been because I haven't really kept up on Raw. Like I'll fast forward and watch some stuff,